Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, I want to share with you a video that looks like Bryan Kohberger did go back to the crime scene, just as that affidavit said, after he committed the unthinkable. And so we're going to be diving into it. We're going to be analyzing it. We're going to even break down that video a little bit. And what is with this Tinder date who is now speaking out about Bryan Kohberger? As I mentioned, more and more it's going to keep coming out, right? Let's go ahead and dive into what we know. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. Recently reviewed video in the haunted University of Idaho case may support investigators' theory that Bryan Kohberger did reach the scene of the incident in his white Hyundai Elantra. This is so disturbing to know. This is the type of character he is said to be if this is his car. Let's take a look. You can see the white car that is right in the background of this crime scene. Now, again, it is alleged that he returned to the crime scene. That so much does look like the car. Without a shadow of a doubt, that looks like the car. Even though there's a lot of trees in there, it truly looks like the white Hyundai Elantra that is said to be owned by Kohberger himself, which is a 2015 Hyundai Elantra. And so it is said that he was seen at the crime scene in his white Hyundai Elantra in the hours after the incident. And so for him to return to the crime scene at least once following his heinous act, wow, who could do such a thing? Only someone who truly believed they were going to get away with this, and they were brazen enough to go back there. And so you have this video of the new footage of the white sedan driving near the home the day after this happened. And so according to the affidavit, we do know that his cell phone pinged at what would be considered the area that would get cell phone service near the home. And so this Fox News digital camera recorded a brief sighting of a car heading up a road next to the Moscow house. And that truly does look at it, because the vehicle, it could be seen at the top of the video frame as two law enforcement officers were conversing in this incident, right? And so we don't know, but you can see the officers are talking about this. They're at the crime scene. And so it's an active crime scene. And here it is looking to be that, yes, he was spotted, because his phone pinged in the area of the student's Moscow house at around 9 a.m. on November 13th, just 5 hours after he allegedly broke into the off-campus home and stabbed 4 students to death. But by the end of the day, his phone went completely silent. No pings, nothing. And so now that looks to be officers, right? But if this was around 9 a.m., could that be? Why would the officers be there? That part I'm a little unsure of, because it's 9 a.m., right? His phone pings in the area of the student's Moscow house around 9 a.m. on November 13th, which is just 5 hours after he allegedly broke into the off-campus home. And so is that a crime scene, though? Because that looks like officers. Is that not a fair statement? And that looks like him in the background. But maybe it's not officers, or maybe it's just a couple people walking. I mean, that could very well be. And so he infamously drove a white Hyundai Elantra. And it is also believed to be the white Hyundai Elantra that everyone's been looking for, right? We have heard about that for a long time. And it is said to look like this. That literally looks like the car that is going back there. A little hard to see because of the trees, but that seriously looks like it. And so according to the police probable cause affidavit, at around 4:20 a.m., the same car was captured on video speeding away from the crime scene. And it is said to look just like this. The cops said there are generally a very limited number of vehicles that enter and exit this residential neighborhood in the early hours of the morning. But that white sedan was one of them that morning that was spotted moving past the house at a high rate of speed 4 different times. And so the pattern of the car's movements, it did correspond to the estimated time of the incident, which were eventually connected to Bryan Kohberger, the PhD student studying criminology at the nearby Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. And so that's what helped catch on to this guy, because they even had footage from Washington State University which showed a white Elantra leaving the campus in the direction of the student's house just prior to 3 a.m. on the night of the murders. The car then returned to campus just before 5:30 a.m. on the same morning. And that's how they're able to put some of this together. See, the affidavit reads, all of these occasions, except for one, occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of their respective days. And so it was also said that his white Elantra, which Kohberger, it is registered to Kohberger. So that's how they first registered it to him at Washington State. And it was like, hey, there's a student here that owns a car like that. And so they were putting 2 and 2 together. That's when they started doing all the let's follow this guy and see what we come up with. Let's get some DNA. Let's see what we come up with. And so using forensic DNA testing, cell phone data, CCTV footage, and evidence from the scene of the murders, police were ultimately able to hunt Bryan Kohberger down and then charge him with this quadruple incident. Now again, everyone is due their day in court, so we know everything. We don't even know his defense set yet, right? We don't even know what alibi he has shared. It doesn't look good for him according to the affidavit, right? It doesn't look good for him. But here we have this mystery white car that was spotted near the crime scene after the incident. Okay, so that is a little more clearer there. This is after the students. So this is a day after his phone pinged in the area of the student's Moscow home around 9 a.m., right? Just 5 hours after. And so this new footage, it kind of does show him in the area, literally, as they're investigating. So it looks to be an active crime scene, but we don't know it. We don't really know. The last time his phone pings in the area is at 9 a.m. And so, that's where it's, you have the Fox News, ABC, they're all reporting that near the murder scene captures a white car passing by in the background as their journalists updated the public on the developing case. So let me clear that up a little bit. It was an active crime scene, as I originally thought. I got a little confused because I'm like, wait a second, but it's actually the next day that the video footage was caught. And so, yes, does that not look like it? Again, you can only take it with a grain of salt, but because in that footage, you cannot really tell the make and model of the car. But it really looks like the make and the model of the Hyundai Elantra that is said to be tied to Bryan Kohberger. So I find that very interesting, and it also matches the time frame that they're saying he came back to the crime scene after the incident. So it was an active investigation, right? My friends, I now want to share with you about the woman who is detailing her Tinder date with the Idaho suspect, Bryan Kohberger. Before I dive into it, let me share, you always have to be careful. You don't know anyone who's just going to lie in order to get views, a la the tarot card reader who said, I know who did it, and literally pointed people out. Blamed two people who has never been named a suspect. So you have to take it with a grain of salt, because here is another TikToker who says she went on a Tinder date with the Idaho suspect, Bryan Kohberger, in a viral TikTok video that is going around now. And so this woman, she claims that she went on a Tinder date with Bryan Kohberger, and she said that the 28-year-old who is accused of brutally doing the unthinkable to the 4 kids, she said that, he invited himself into her apartment. Then he kept trying to touch her. That's what she is alleging. I'm sharing because multiple media outlets are sharing this. So I'm sharing what is coming out. And I do my best. Sometimes I'm like, it's hard to believe that this could have happened, so I'm not going to talk about it. But in this case, I am going to talk about this one because of the way she is sharing. But at the same time, she could be lying to us. We don't really know. Take it with a grain of salt. Is there an ulterior motive for her to do this? Like the other TikTok lady. Like the people who put together these screams in an attempt to get more views. I'm just trying to keep you updated on what could go wrong in this crazy world we live in. And so I'm sharing you her story because this could be your story and you want to see the red flag. And so she is alleging that Kohberger was matched with her on Tinder. And so Kohberger asked her out to the movies, and she says this was about 7 years ago. That's according to her TikTok video. You can see her username there, so you can definitely go and check it out as well. And so according to her TikTok video, she shared this about the bizarre encounter. She posted this yesterday. She says, my interactions with Bryan were very brief. I don't know much about him. That's what the woman said. She claimed that the two chatted through the dating app Tinder for at most a day before meeting up. She says, we matched on Tinder. We talked for a couple of hours. And then he was like, hey, you want to go to the movies with me tonight? I was like, sure. So we went to the movies. That's what she is sharing. The TikTok person, she is also saying that, her name, she's listed as Haley on the app. And she says she recalls Kohberger's bizarre and apparently very forward behavior after they went to the movies. She says, I thought he was just going to drop me off, but that was not the case. He kind of invited himself inside. And so the post did reach out to Haley through Instagram on Tuesday for a comment. And so, I don't know. I don't think she got anything, but once inside the woman's apartment, Kohberger wanted to watch another movie on Netflix. But that's when things turn off a little toward the creepy side, is what she's saying. According to her, Kohberger couldn't keep his hands to himself. He kept trying to touch me, not like inappropriately, just trying to tickle me and like rub my shoulders and stuff. I was like, why are you touching me? That's what she recalls. And Kohberger apparently then gets super serious about this, the way she's responding. That's what she is saying. And so He did not, this is in response to her accusation and denied touching her. And so that was interesting on that particular thing. But she says, he's like, I'm not. And I'm like, you are though. And he's like, I'm not touching you. Kind of trying to gaslight me into thinking that he didn't touch me, which is weird. That's what she is claiming. The woman said at this point, she excused herself to go use the shared dorm bathroom, and Kohberger allegedly followed her there. He didn't go in with me, but like he stood outside the door. I just thought that was weird. That's what she is sharing as well. Now, her TikTok video has been viewed over 1.3 million times. Let it be known that TikTok is going to pay her for all those views. They're going to give her a portion. She's most likely already a creator monetizing that. I'm not saying that her story is a lie at all. I'm saying you always got to take this with a grain of salt because you never know what someone's motive is. And so that's why I say this is what she is sharing. I'm sharing what she and the media outlets are sharing. This is what her TikTok video does share as well. So again, just because it's on social media doesn't mean it's true, right? She could be even exaggerating the story. Maybe she went out and he never I don't know. We don't know. We just have to take it with a grain of salt in what is her main motive behind this. But she says that realizing she wanted Kohberger to leave, but being too socially awkward to ask, the woman said she pretended to throw up. And she says, it wasn't because I was scared of him or thought he would hurt me if I asked him to leave. It was just mostly because I'm socially awkward. I don't know how to ask him to leave. That's what she claimed. Kohberger then allegedly messaged the woman messaged the woman on Tinder and, to tell her he was leaving. So he didn't say it to her. He just messaged her through Tinder and said, I'm out, basically. And so while her plan was successful, Kohberger is said to have allegedly texted her about an hour later and said she had good birthing hips. That's what she is claiming. And so she said, so I never talked to him again. Now, I have heard that before about him saying to someone, good birthing hips. So looks like she's the one that's claiming that. This is her again. And she says, so I never talked to him again. That's what she adds at the very end of this video. And so again, take it with a grain of salt. The bottom line is we want to see justice for these four. Kaylee, Xana, Ethan, and Maddie all deserve justice. Literally. And I think it's key that we understand that. And so, as you know, Gonsalves family, they have been very outspoken, mainly the dad. But at the same time, the sister, Olivia, has spoken up a few times. And she's in the news again defending the roommate. As we know, this is extremely heartbreaking to find out that the roommate was face to face with the killer, never did or said anything to the 911 until many hours later. And so the grieving sister of Kaylee Gonsalves, she's defending the roommate. She is literally defending the roommate in this case. And so she speaks out in defense for the surviving roommate who didn't call 911 after coming face to face. She refers to the suspect as true evil. When she comes face to face with true evil suspect Bryan Kohberger on the night of the brutal slaying, saying that she was probably really, really scared. This is Olivia Gonsalves. And she said no one should blame Dylan Mortensen for waiting 8 hours to contact police after encountering a creepy black-clad figure when she opened her bedroom door after hearing a noise a little earlier at 4 a.m. on the night of the bloody you know what. She was probably really, really scared, is what Olivia is sharing about that. And truth is, she probably really was. And she says, until we have more information, I think everyone should stop passing judgment because you don't know what you would do in that situation. That's what she is sharing with News Nation, because she did an interview with them. And she's speaking up for the roommate. Because as you know, and I shared this, I think yesterday, everyone is calling out the roommate. People are so upset to know about the roommate and then waiting so many hours to contact 911. Yes, I was puzzled as well after I read that affidavit. The police is puzzled after reading the affidavit. But unless any of us were ever in her shoes, we don't really know what that's like. Is that not a fair statement, my friends? Is that not a fair statement? Because truth is, at the end of the day, we just want justice. We don't want all the other stuff, right? So Olivia, she says, she's backing the girl. Olivia said that she was shocked to learn that everyone was pointing their finger at her. And obviously, this is beyond mind-blowing, is the number one thing that crosses my mind. Because, hey, I was blown away. You were probably blown away. At the end of the day, none of us know what that's like. And so Olivia said that she is shocked to learn that Kohberger had allegedly visited her 21-year-old sister's off-campus home almost a dozen times, at least a dozen times, maybe more. And this is before the incident, where we come to find out that he might have been there after the incident. She says, we had no idea. She had no idea. I had no idea that True Evil was genuinely watching them. And she said, that's been the hardest part of this, is to sit back and look at the totality of it. When my sister was FaceTiming me about a new egg bites recipe, he was planning his next visit to the home. That's what Olivia shared. She tells News Nation that's really difficult not to wish that you had done more and wish that you had known more. But it's just the first step. A lot more evidence will come out. And she says that she said she believes that Kohberger may have been watching the probe play out online, along with as what many online sleuths are really alleging, that he was watching this unfold. He was seeing everything that people were talking about. Olivia said a lot of that comes from the fact that he had visited the home so many times before, late at night and early hours. He presented this pattern of behavior. He went back to the home the morning of, before police had been called. I think to see if his circus, so to say, had started to unfold. I think he would not have been able to refrain from engaging with the online communities, the theories, the conspiracies, and everything in between. That's what Olivia tells News Nation. She said, we still have such a long road ahead of us. The relief that we all felt having a suspect in custody was, I can't even describe it, like the weight of the world was lifted from our shoulders. That's what Olivia shared with News Nation. And truth is, my friends, we don't really, the bottom line, justice. Justice for these girls. Is that not a fair statement? Justice for Ethan Chapin. Is that not a fair statement? Lawyer for the Gonsalves family, Shannon Gray, he says no one knew of this guy at all. And so the lawyer who has been the mouthpiece for the Gonsalves, which you're probably thinking he really didn't need a mouthpiece, but a lawyer does their share of talking too, right? And he says, Bryan Kohberger has no connection to any of the 4 students that he is accused of doing the unthinkable to. Now that he is facing the death penalty, on 4 counts of first degree, he denies all charges despite DNA from the scene matching a sample taken from his house, and says he will prove his innocence in court. And so while police, they have laid out some of their evidence, they have not shared a motive for this incident with us if they know. They have to know a motive. Is that not fair to say? They have to have an idea of what their motive is if they plan on being successful in all of this. Right now, it does not look good for Bryan Kohberger. But Shannon Gray, the attorney, he says Kohberger didn't even know any of the victims. He says no one knew of this guy at all. That was an interview that he did with Business Insider. And according to the probable cause affidavit that was filed in court, Kohberger visited the student's home on multiple occasions. So we don't really know why he was visiting or stalking, if he had a connection. But Shannon Gray, the attorney, is saying did not have a connection to any of the 4. And so that's something that we don't know. Because as we know, Kaylee's family even previously revealed that Kaylee had fears that she was being stalked. But no stalker had ever been identified. So if he was stalking her, maybe he just saw... Why would he do it if he didn't know them? What is some reason that he would do this without even knowing them? I don't know. That's until we know his motive, we really don't know much outside of that. Is that not a fair statement? And so previously, though, that's where I get a little confused, because previously Stephen Gonsalves, he said in an interview that he did see a link between Kohberger and the victims. But we don't know what that connection is. What is that connection if there was a previous link, right? Because he did say that in an interview, he saw a link between Kohberger and the victims, but he did not go into more detail. He said at this time, we don't want to get into it, right? I mean, that's what he is sharing, that he stated in an interview that there was a link. But Shannon Gray is saying he didn't know them at all. What would that link be? You see, at the time of this incident, Kohberger was living just 7 miles from the scene, studying at the University of Washington's Pullman campus. And so, what could that link possibly be? Why did Mr. Gonsalves say that there was a link, but we don't want to talk about it at this time? That, to me, is really hard to understand, right? And so until we understand that motive, until we know what was found that would make him make that statement, we only can go by the evidence that is coming up. And one of the biggest damaging evidence, I think, that could help the cops build their case around Bryan Kohberger is that footprint that was found inside that crime scene. Because they did find a footprint, according to the affidavit, that matched a pair of Vans. Like Vans shoes. Did they have the shoes, though? That, to me, is another question. And so, what else do the detectives have on him? We know that they have the DNA that was found on the sheath, right? We know that they have that. We have the car, but is there any DNA evidence in that car? Right? That shoe print that is found at the crime scene had a sole pattern that resembled a Vans sneaker. But do they have a Vans sneaker that is tied to Mr. Kohberger? Was he seen wearing any Vans style shoes as authorities walked into a Monroe courthouse last week? We don't know. We don't know. He's seen wearing some Vans style shoes. Were they Vans or were they just the style of those? Is that his style of shoe that he likes to wear? Did he know that he left a footprint? We don't know these things. We don't know these things, but we know that those cannot be the same shoes that was left as the footprint that was found, right? And so truth is, we don't really know what it could be, right? These are the shoes that he was wearing at his hearing. Could these be similar, or are these court issued, jail issued shoes? And so this is a close up of the feet of Bryan Christopher Kohberger when he arrived to Monroe County Courthouse in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania on Tuesday, January 3rd. Could these be similar? I'm going to just say those look like they could be prison issued. Back in the day, they were called Chinese shoes or something like that. I used to love wearing things like those. I actually have something very similar now with different colors. So I do not wear Vans. So, I think they are prison shoes. I believe that. Something easy to get on, something easy to get off. Because truth is, you can't have shoes with laces. For obvious reasons, a number of different reasons. The things you can do to yourself, the things you can do to others. And so my guess is that is not the shoes that he was wearing before he got to court, before he got to jail. But at the same time, what else are we going to find out? And I've mentioned multiple times about, this will be a movie, a series, will be something. But we are now finding out that it's already happening. Publishers and movie studios, they are already trying to start their project. Literally, they are already trying to start their project in this case. Are we surprised? Are we surprised? Because Charles Spicer, who is vice president and executive editor of St. Martin's Press, tells DailyMail.com that he has already been deluged with potential bestseller pitches. Spicer says it could be a big book. And Spicer, he has been described as having spent more time contemplating murder than anyone this side of a professional hitman. That's what we're finding out. And so there is no doubt there's going to be a lot around this. My guess is it's already started. Is that not a true statement? It's already started. My friends, I am Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Deep True Crime. Until next time, my friends, at the end of the day, this is not about me. This is about justice for Idaho 4. This is about being a voice for the victims. This is about being a voice for you. Because you never know what could go wrong in this crazy world we live in. Until next time, my friends, if this is the type of content you like to follow, please hit the subscribe button. Click that like. That way it tells YouTube, hey, there's some value here. Show it to more people. And if you click the notification bell, you will get notified when I go live or upload content. Until next time, my friends, be safe out there, because we just want to know that this is truly a crazy world we live in, and we want you to be safe. See you next time. Peace. Have a great day.